Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about figuring stuff out. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a software engineer, how do you figure out what a customer needs when the customers themselves don't know? Yeah, it's actually not that tricky. Uh, if you have some emotional intelligence and you are what I call problem oriented. Because the usual problem with customers who don't really fully know themselves what they need is it's more about that they can't express what they need, but if you reverse your way of if you change the way that you are trying to ask them what they need from please tell me what do you want me to build to please explain to me what your problem is, then the whole conversation shifts. Because, as I like to say, everybody can explain what's wrong, but very few people know how to solve it. And as a software developer, that is your biggest tool, your biggest asset, to have the ability to figure out from a problem statement what a good solution would look like. That's it. That's all I do pretty much every single day when I take in specifications and so forth and so forth. You simply ask people what sucks or what's bad or etc., and then you listen to them complain. And then while they're complaining, you start to think about, all right, so they're doing this or they're doing that. That probably could be a automated thing, or maybe we could create some type of system that synchronizes with some other system, or maybe the thing that they're actually talking about here is that they have a problem with communication between different departments, which means that we could probably get away with just creating a sleepy little server somewhere where they can upload the information, and that's going to be shared between the different departments, etc., etc., etc. There are so many ways that someone could have a problem. It's actually that simple. You don't really, like the customers, as I said, like you can never really put it on the customers to tell you what they want, because usually they don't know what's possible. That's the difference between being an engineer and being just someone who has the problem, right? It's the same thing with anything. I mean, most people go to a car mechanic can't tell you how to fix the problem. They can just say that, yeah, the light is red, or the engine light is showing something, and so forth, and then it's on you to sort of figure out how to deal with this problem. Same thing with doctors, same things with, anyone who is a specialist in anything, right? And this is where I find that it's very useful to do what I call shadowing with the person. You don't have to actually sit with them when you do that, but the idea is basically that there's a concept that you may have heard of, which is called event storming. And the basic idea behind that process is that you walk through all the events that take place between the start of something and the end of some process. And then you look at all the steps and you use your engineering software, call it whatever you want, brain to figure out, alright, these are all the steps, and this is how all these steps are executed. Alright, how can we make this a smoother experience for everybody involved, and which parts of this process are things that the customer has been complaining about? And then you derive from that what a good solution looks like. This is why I tell people that learning how to code is just half the problem. The real thing that you are doing is that you are using, it's sort of, in a sense, it's sort of like math, where if you just memorize equations, you will never be good at solving problems with math, because the equations and like all the ways that you could calculate things is just a way for you to arrive at a solution to some problem. But if you don't understand how to connect your understanding of the equations to problem solving, then you're useless. Then you can teach math, but you can't really apply it. And it's the same thing with software development. Learning different algorithms and stuff like that without understanding that, well, there's a real life problem, something that you have observed in the real world or a customer has, and by looking at that problem, fully understanding what type of problem that is, and then using your experience with these sorts of concepts in computer science or like programming languages or tooling and so forth to solve that problem. I mean, that is the thing that is important. That is the thing that always matter. And that's why it's, yeah, I always try to tell people that you can think of your programming language as just a tool. It's like a hammer or a saw to a carpenter or something like that. These are just means for you to solve something, but the trick is to know these tools and then be able to listen to a customer's issues or complaints and so forth, and figure out a way with those tools to solve that problem. So what I want you to take away from this is that most customers don't know what's wrong or what they want, or rather, no, most customers know what's wrong, but they don't know what they want or how to solve it. And that's where you need to sit down with them and sort of try to understand, okay, why are you here? Like, why you reached out, you need something, there's some problem, could you explain how you work or what issues you are facing? It's very similar to the doctor asking, where does it hurt? It's the same thing. And then you listen, and you try to, when they start to explain, most of the time they can't explain it all that well, depending on the person. And so you ask follow-up questions. They might say that, oh yeah, we have a lot of problems with delayed orders. And then you ask, okay, what is it? How do you usually place an order? Like, how do you take in an order? Could you explain the steps that you take? Oh yeah, but first, like the marketing people, they go out and then they talk to people, and then they make a sale, and then they have like an Excel sheet that they put some stuff into, and then they call us, and there's someone in our office who are like, when they have time, they look at the Excel sheet, and then they place the order, and then like it goes out into the factory, and then like they go and do something, etc., etc. And your first thought when what I just said would be, okay, so they have an Excel sheet and then someone calls in order to tell them that they updated that document. Well, maybe if they had something that actually pinged directly to the factory, they could save some time there. So you don't have to like just use an Excel sheet that is probably a little bit error prone. You could probably make that a little bit more streamlined. That's the process that you're looking for. While you're listening, you try to sort of understand how these steps could be performed in a more efficient manner, and then you keep on asking questions until they have, without actually in some cases knowing it, explained to you exactly how they do everything at their company. Have a great day.